Welcome, all of my corporate professionals. So, in today's topic, we're going to be talking about when to decline a job offer. Now, for a lot of people that are on the job hunt right now, you're probably thinking, why would you want to decline the job offer? Especially when you've put so much effort into it. You've had to tailor your CV, you've had to prepare for all of these job interviews, you've gone on countless rounds of job interviews, first, second interview, second interview, third round of interview, sometimes even more than that. And then you get to the stage where you get what you want, you get the job offer. So you're probably thinking nothing in the world will make you want to decline a job offer, right? Well, there are some instances where you really should decline a job offer, and we're going to get into what those are. So, one main reason to decline a job offer is if it doesn't have what you're looking for in a job role. So, what I mean by this is a lot of the time when we are job searching, we do have some must haves that we want the job to have in order for us to take on that role. For example, we might want the job to be completely remote because let's say we have family and responsibilities. And let's say if the job is not remote, that could be an issue. Or it could be that we don't want any aspect of sales in our job role. So I would say write down all of the must haves that you want the job to have and then assess those. Now, it doesn't mean that the job has to be absolutely perfect. If it doesn't have, at one or two of the things that you would like the job to have, sometimes it's something that you can negotiate on. But if it's more than two, three, four, then it's gonna become a slight problem because then when you get in the job role, you're gonna end up becoming resentful because now you're having to deal with all of the issues that you didn't want in a job. And before long, you'll notice that you're job searching again for another job, which is not what you want to do because the last thing you want on your CV is job hopping from one job to another job. So it's best that you get a job that has a majority of your must haves in order for you to be satisfied at that job. This leads me on to my second reason, which is when the job description doesn't match the job role. Oh, child. I'm sure many people can relate to this one. So, this is when the job description says one thing, and then you get to the interview, and the interviewer ends up adding a whole bunch of other things that this role is supposed to entail that is not mentioned on the job description. Do not ignore this red flag, and this should make you worry for one of three reasons. First of all, it's very disingenuous and doesn't speak well about the company itself. But even more than that, it means that they don't really know what is required for the job role. And it also means that if you were to take on the job, they wouldn't know how to properly support you, and you wouldn't have a set out method of how to go about this job. And in a lot of these situations, what it also means is that they want you to wear many hats. So they want you to be doing more than your job role requires of you. And what that means essentially is that they want you to do a higher level job at a lower pay. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, I strongly advise you to decline the job offer. So the third reason is high turnover. This is a major red flag that can have serious consequences for you in the long run if you take the job. High turnover is a sure sign that employees are not happy at that particular job, and it gives the company a bad reputation. So you're probably thinking, well, how would I know if a company has a high turnover? There are sites that you can use, such as Glassdoor, which employees are able to give their reviews on the company, and there are sometimes current employees and ones that have previously left. Now, usually when you look at these reviews and you look at the ratings, you can get a good idea of how the company is. Now, I do advise to take these reviews with a grain of salt, and don't focus totally on just all of the negative reviews. But if a majority of the reviews are negative and their rating is quite low, that's a good indication that's probably not a company that you want to work at. Earlier on in my career, I had been in a situation like that where I was job searching and I finally got a job offer. And I had previously looked at the reviews and they were very bad and they had bad ratings. But I was just like, you know what, I can deal with anything. Just give me the job. And then I ended up taking the job and I was so depressed. And I had to end up leaving the job within 6 months. So honestly, it's not worth it on your mental health. If you see that the reviews are mostly negative and they're mostly talking about the same things in terms of negativity and the ratings are low, then it's a good indication that's probably not a job that you want to be at. So the fourth major reason to decline a job offer is the salary. Let's face it, we all got to get paid. So usually when we're looking for a job, we usually have an ideal salary that we want the job to have, and we don't want it to fall below a certain salary range. So it can become a problem when you get a job offer and then realize that the salary is below what you were expecting. Now pause. That doesn't mean that you should immediately decline a job as soon as you realize that the salary is lower than you expected. There are some ways around it. So the first thing that you can do is look at the company benefits. You might find that the company benefits can make up for the lack of salary that you want. So you might find that the bonus structure might make up for the low salary that you have, and then you can work that out and decide, okay, maybe that's something I can work through and I can take on the job. However, if you find that that is still not sufficient enough to make up for the low salary, then the next step will be to negotiate on the salary. If that doesn't work as well and they're not budging from that ideal salary that you want, then it's probably a good idea to decline the job offer, because what will happen is if you end up taking that job, you'll find that you start working there a couple of months and then you realize that, I'm unhappy. I feel like I'm not getting paid my worth. And before you know, you start becoming resentful. And that's the last thing you want to feel at a job. So it's best to go for a job that you feel like you're being paid your worth. So the next reason to decline a job offer is the work-life balance. But how can you tell if a position doesn't have work-life balance if you haven't started the job? Well, sometimes there are key indicators at the job interview itself. So watch out for certain phrases, like if you hear work hard, play hard, or this is a high pressure environment. Phrases like this should raise some red flags. I remember at one of the interviews that I went for, the interviewer was very candid with me and she said to me that this is a very high pressure environment and usually it's very common that our employees can work up to 11 o'clock at night. I knew then and there that I could not do this job. Another indicator is if you're expected to wear a lot of hats. And they explain that in the job interview. So you're expected to do a lot of other roles that are not part of your job role. Now, for some people, they might want to take on a job role like this in order to gain more experience. But if that's not what you're looking to do, then you should really look at that as a red flag. Now, I know it might be tempting to still take the job offer, even though you know that the work-life balance isn't great, but it's at the risk of your mental health, because if you do decide to take on this job role and you realize that you start becoming overworked, it's going to have a huge impact on your life in general. So not just your work life, but it will seep into your personal life as well, because you won't have time to do any of your personal interests, to devote time to your relationships, family relationships, personal relationship with your children if you have children. So it's very important not to get yourself into that situation. Work-life balance is really, really important. In fact, there's even a study that has shown that 60% of people that do overtime frequently are at a higher risk of heart-related health issues. So it's really not something that you want to play with. Sorry if you heard us screaming in the background. My baby was just screaming for a bit, so I had to jump off and go and handle him quickly, but he's sleeping now, so I'm back. Now, if you're a person that is not getting any job offers, so you're struggling with job interviews and facing constant interview rejection, then I have the thing for you. I have a free interview confidence webinar that is helping many candidates to land the jobs that they really want. So if you want to land your next job interview, nail the job interview and get that job, then watch the interview confidence webinar before that interview so that you can get the job that you want. I'll leave the link below. The final reason to decline a job offer is when you're following your gut feeling. Okay, so never ignore your intuition. If something deep inside you is telling you, something is off, I don't feel like this job is right for me, then you should listen to it. I'll give you an example of when this can happen. So you might be interviewed by your future manager and you realize that this manager and you do not have a good connection. There's not a good vibe. Maybe you're getting a very negative vibe from him, or you feel like he or she is not somebody that you will be able to get along with. That's a good indicator that you should probably decline that job. The reason might be, especially if it's a face-to-face interview, is that you might be, looking at all of the other employees that already work there, and you realize that they look very depressed. For example, there's just a negative vibe around the whole office. Nobody looks happy. Everyone looks stressed out, overworked. That's probably a good indication that you might want to leave and not accept that job. And there's many other gut feelings that you might have, but those are just some that I just thought I should mention. So if your gut feeling tells you this is not the one for you, then please listen to it. So that is all of my reasons of why you should decline a job offer. If you have been in any of these situations, or you're currently job interviewing with a job and you realize that they do have some of these red flags, do let me know in the comments below, and also let me know how you're going to handle it. Just before I forget, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for everything job related and for tips on how to pass the interview and get the job that you want. Take care.